Today on the show, we are talking about some insurance within super. We're talking about maybe some spending-y, plan-y issues. Do we use a credit card to spend? Do I use paying for to spend? I'm not sure. We'll talk about a bit of debt recycling, future plans with mortgages and kids. And I'm sure we'll get into some trouble along the way with the review that we'll do on two superannuation funds to help someone decide which fund to pick. Today on the show, joining me is Phil Thompson, founder and CEO, director, all-around good guy from, what's your business, Phil? Skye Wealth?
Skye Wealth.
There you go. Welcome back to Pod Vegas.
Thanks for having me, Glenn.
For those who don't know or who might be new to the show, Philip with, it's one L, isn't it?
No, two L's.
No, it's two L's.
The wrong way to spell it.
Yeah, I always got confused. Yeah. But Philip is a dear friend of the show and of mine. And we're going to have some fun today. Hey, I'll read this question for you, Phil. Here we go. There's lots here, and I love it. Hi, Glenn. Love the podcast. You've helped me a lot in my financial journey. A question on insurance. I have a mortgage, young child, and soon will have a wife who won't be working. I'm 44, earn $190K, own an apartment in Sydney, have $450 in super, $50K in shares, and a $550K mortgage, no other debt. I've never had income or life insurance. Former wife had high income, and we never felt the need. Huge side chat there. Don't tempt me with a good time, Phil.
I'll take us there. Don't you worry about that.
Do not tempt me. But I'm now divorced and have dependents, and I really want to take action. I'm now divorced, but I assume remarried, given that you'll soon have a wife who won't be working. Anyway, don't bury the lead, Glenn. There's a problem, though. Although recovered, I have 3 pre-existing but treated conditions: mental health, substance misuse, and recently a basal cell carcinoma, which has been removed. I'd like to get insurance through super, but my super CBA Essential Super disqualifies me from coverage. Help! I want to do the right thing and get insured, but I can't. Hoping for some help for myself and others. All right, Phil, what are you saying to Anonymous here about this whole sitch?
Shall I take us back to a good time, Glenn?
Let's get the good time done first, okay?
Okay, all right. So in terms of one thing about insurance, and the thing I love most about insurance is it's all about a puzzle piece. So one person's experience with the one insurer may be different with other insurers. And someone's, substance misuse, it's very dependent on when it is, how long ago it was, has life changed significantly? Like, what does that look like? So when it comes to applying for cover with insurance, sometimes it's about telling a story with the underwriter, and especially with substance misuse, insurers do have a pretty strict rule on that. Anytime in the last 5 years, they may have a concern or issue. But if you can tell a story of, hey, we've got, a wife, we're about to get remarried, we've got young children. And so that was, in a prior life, and tell that story. Sometimes they can have a more favorable view on that substance misuse. Substance misuse with mental health is a bit more of a higher risk. So those two combined does cause a little bit more issues.
Yeah, because the BCC is not the story here. That's like...
Yeah. Generally not. And it does depend on exactly what it was, what the histopathology report says. So it is, there is always devil in the detail, as they say. But yeah, those two things are probably the cause. But I would say if you've gone direct or gone through your super fund, you should be able to get an understanding from the underwriter as to why they've made that judgment call. But do remember that CBA Essential Super is only working with one insurance company. And so really the next steps is going and reaching out to a financial advisor to look at the options, get a lot of that information about your health history, and then do a pre-assessment with a whole bunch of insurance companies.
So Phil, just in terms of an underwriting thing, right? They're going to be looking at this mental health and substance abuse or any medical condition of how much daylight has passed since you've recovered and no treatment, or how much daylight has passed since you have been stable on treatment? Because there are some medical conditions where it's like, no, I'm stable on treatment for my blood pressure or cholesterol or whatever, and it's all G, baby. But so there are, like, I think it's like you said, the puzzle pieces. It's like, well, was the substance misuse 25 years ago? And there's actually, in reality, this ain't a thing now.
And the interesting thing about these disclosures is when you go to your super fund, they won't give you an understanding about exactly why they've declined what they've declined. Working with an advisor, at least they will be able to call up the underwriter, hey, what's going on? What is the reason for this? So then we can communicate back to our client, hey, this is the core reason, because it could simply be the substance misuse. Could be in the last 12 months there's been cocaine or, anything else in there that has led to the decline. Everyone in the market will decline the same. Or is it the mental health because of the actual symptoms and treatment and, less so about the diagnosis but more about the symptoms. So, this is why, in our business we ask a heap of medical questions up front. Because we want to really deep dive into the health history of an individual so we can save everyone time, money and effort going ahead with an application if we're going to get declined.
Yeah, because I think in terms of the cascading outcome, like the best case scenario, if the mental health and substance misuse did knock it on the head, the best case scenario would likely be potentially accident only income insurance. Yeah. Although some are a bit funny with that, aren't they? Still with
it depends on the
substance and have an accident or something like that.
It does depend. Yeah, accident only doesn't pay out a claim if you were under the influence of alcohol or drugs, but it's still some coverage because most accidents is unlikely to happen because of that.
But on this, in the terms of the suite of products, trauma cover and a death cover still could be on the table, albeit loaded, right?
Almost certainly. Yeah. That's why it's always the devil in the detail. Substance misuse, I'm going to say it's a while ago.
Yes.
If it was a while ago, then life and trauma is very much on the cards, which, CBA Essential Super doesn't offer a trauma policy.
No. But I don't think the story's over for this person. I think there could be a chance that they could actually get some cover, potentially.
It sounds very possible. And again, it's coming back to if you go to your bank, if you've been a Dolomites, kid when you were young, and then you only go to Commonwealth Bank and you're self-employed, or maybe your financials are a bit more complex, and Commonwealth Bank says, no, we're not going to offer you that loan. Your next step is to go to a mortgage broker and actually look at the rest of the market and determine what does the market dictate I can borrow or not borrow. And that is really the best way forward.
Yeah. And I just want to touch on this thing that tripped me up, just for the general populace listening. Former wife had a high income and we never felt the need. So the high income means if I have an accident or an illness and I can't work, we'll be okay. Is that what that means? I thought if you can't work, you're not getting an income regardless of how high it is.
Now, I know incomes can change. I know incomes can change, but this person's on $190,000. If they thought they were the lower income earner, then that must be a significant income. But I get on my high horse all the time. My wife doesn't do any paid work, but we have a lot of insurance for her because if she is injured, ill, sick, I'm not coming to work every day. I'm sorry, things are way more important than me rocking up to work. And yes, I love working with the clients. I love running the business, but what's more important is my wife. What's more important is my kids. And so that's why, we've got heaps of cover for my wife, even though, guess what? I earn more than she does because she's not doing paid work. But that always
I think the answer is your household earns an income.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
But her ITR doesn't say employment income.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I say not doing any paid work.
Yeah, I know. I'm just poking
I'm well aware she does much harder work than I do.
So Phil and I, we've known each other for a million years, and we literally just poke each other because we just know.
we find it funny leaning on the edge of getting each other cancelled.
Yeah, we dance around that line. But hey, it's all good. I think, Anonymous, if you want to reach out to Skye Wealth, one of the team members in Phil's team, we'll have a chat with you, get a bit of an lay of the land. But certainly, at the very minimum, there would be accident-only death cover. Because remember, we only want insurance, particularly death cover, if there's debt or dependence, I think. Because at the end of the day, if a non stops working tomorrow and there's a new child rocking up soon, well, that's a dependent and they've still got a mortgage. So it's just some basic housekeeping. But what we will do, this episode, it usually is brought to you by Sphere Home Loans, Phil. But this episode today,
knocked them off today.
We've knocked them off. See you later.
Get
a mortgage, get lost rage, get lost Sphere Home Loans. We've knocked them on the head and we're going to bring it to you from the team at Skye Wealth. Phil, tell us about Skye Wealth and what you do and who you is.
Yeah, so we are financial advisors and we specialise in personal insurance advice. So we'll help people set up income protection, life insurance, disability cover and trauma cover. So we're specialists. We're one of the biggest in the country in terms of helping new policies being set up and we love what we do. And coming back to Anon's question, we will ask you a million questions about your health well before we'll tell you which insurance company to go with. And the great thing is that we help people set up insurances without needing to do holistic advice. We don't need to look at your CBA Essential Super investments, but we can still get CBA Essential Super to pay a lot of the premiums, depending on the way it's structured. And so, yeah, that's what we do. We love personal insurance advice. And
yeah, all right, wrap it up.
Breathe it.
Yeah, wrap it up, bro. But there you go. This episode is brought to you by Skye Wealth. You can reach out to them, skye.com.au, SKYE. My name is Glen James. We're going to do the Money show right now. Before we get into it, this show is general advice only. I've got a license to provide that advice. Full details can be found in the show description. My name's Glen James, former financial advisor. I host this show and a show called Retire Right. I've got some books, the award-winning Quick Start Guide to Investing and the Quick Start Guide to Your First Property, available where good books are sold or in the description. If you're new here, welcome. If you're an old hand, welcome to M3. Let's get into it right now. Okay. This is interesting. And Phil is actually a licensed financial advisor.
Did holistic advice for many, many years.
Yeah, so
and I saw the light.
He knows his way around town, but some of the stuff in this next question, I want to answer from Phil because he might not be 34, but he's got a family, he's got a house, he's got life going on. So Lina asks, "Hi team. I have a question for the show for your consideration on our combined strategy of debt recycling and gearing on our PPOR. Husband and I both 34, no kids yet, planning within the next 2 years. We bought our house in 2023 at $590K and now it has increased in value to $950K. Don't you love Aussie property?
If you're an owner.
Equity, yeah. Yeah, if you're an owner. We have withdrawn an equity amount of $330K and invested into ETFs. Right on the line. Okay, so they've obviously maxed out the max that they can get off that property now. Now, our savings have reached $170K and are thinking of debt recycling instead of leaving it in the offset. We're planning to do this until the non-deductible amount is fully recycled. And actually, we don't know the actual mortgage amount.
Yeah, I'm going to assume
It's
bought
low.
it at $600, it's got to be like a $450,
Yeah.
$50,000 mortgage,
Yeah.
and then add that $330 on top of that.
Yeah. However, in the future, about 6 to 7 years' time, depending on how many kids we have and their age for school, we are thinking of buying a bigger house and wanted to move this investment amount over. We do not want to sell this house, but turn it into a rental place instead. What do you think of this plan and what should we look out for? Philip, what are you saying to Lina in this situation?
This is a situation that happened to me as well. We had a home, similar value, and we upgraded. One thing that I always look at, and human behavior is very interesting. If you're thinking of upgrading your house in 6 and 7 years' time, a lot of human beings, when they get to 3 years, if they've got the ability to buy that bigger home and their kids are there, you start to get a bit more squishy. People will often, I find, upgrade sooner if they have the capacity to. So one thing I do think about, if you're paying off that debt and clearing it completely off that home loan, and then it moves into an investment property, it's going to be positively geared. You're going to be paying additional tax. So
Not a bad thing.
No, not a bad thing, but does it make sense from a financial point of view? Does the Excel spreadsheet tell you that it's the right thing to do?
Yeah.
One thing I did in this situation, because we did maintain our old house, and I actually spoke to John Pigeon and said, "Hey, we're considering, do we maintain this house or do we sell it and buy another house?" I understand debt recycling, I understand deductibility of debt and all of that, but I still sought advice because property investment isn't just, we had it here. Because one consideration I had was I moved upgraded in the same suburb. So did I want 2 properties? Do I want a large amount of assets, in a really small area? And so I kind of ran the numbers with John. He didn't give me financial advice. He didn't give me tax advice, but kind of talked through, that the suburb that the house was in, does it make sense to maintain and sell off and buy somewhere else, given the large, cost of selling and buying. So for me, I love getting professional advice.
Yeah. But so what are you doing in this exact situation? Do you reckon you would pay down the mortgage and debt recycle it with that $170K now?
No, I would keep it all in the offset. If I'm thinking I'm going to keep that house, you just keep all the money, additional savings in that offset.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
And keep pouring money into that offset. Again, it does depend on your kind of household budget and your savings habits, but these guys seem like they're great savers based on the numbers and what I'm seeing. What do you think? What would you do?
Yeah, and so weirdly, no one can see, but on my production note, I've actually written a heap of notes about this because I'm like, this will be interesting to chat. My first view is, number one, you've said no kids yet, planning within the next 2 years. So whatever we do in terms of a lending or debt recycling, any type of gearing, any type of lending, what does our income look like? Can we service any additional debt over the next 6 years? That's number one. Then I was thinking you could probably do this if, and kind of what you said is is it legitimately, and I think the reason I read 5, 6 to 7 years, and this is just my thing, kids within the next 2 years, by age 5 or primary school, then we're making the call, right? I don't think by doing your strategy, Phil, of leaving the $170K, offsetting the non-deductible debt, that's not terrible. But what I'm thinking is, and I get it because there's so many moving parts, I need you, Lina, and your partner to think about in 6 to 7 years, right, what is the wash-up going to be? Now, the wash-up in 6 to 7 years needs to be that the next property that we buy has to have the most minimal amount of non-deductible debt. As simple as that. So we've got to look at that. So does that mean in a perfect world where, no, this is a 3-bedroom, 5 garage, 8 bathroom house, all out of proportion clearly, and it is actually fine for the next 7 years, but it could be a preference to move to a different school catchment zone, right? So if it's just a preference and you can categorically think for the next 5 to 6 years, we can knock this strategy out and go for it, maybe go for it, noting that in 6, 7 years, are you prepared to sell down equity to put into the home mortgage? So you've got minimal non-deductible debt over there.
Well, so the answer to have minimal non-deductible debt, you've got to sell the house, sell the ETFs, put all your offset into that new mortgage.
Well, you might be able to just sell
if that's the priority.
Yeah. Like I think the more that we talk about this is it actually also goes back because you said it with like the same suburb thing. Are they thinking we want to keep this house as an investment property because we already own it before the rule change so we can continue to negative gear it? Like, but no, we're just not, we're not entertaining that. I think we have to go.
You don't think so?
I don't think so because and the only reason I say I don't think so is the property itself in its own right a good investment asset? Like,
yes.
Based on the value and the rent that it'll get, is it fundamentally a good investment property? I don't know the answer to that. And if it's crap, but we're keeping it because we can negative gear, well, what are we doing here? Like we need a good quality asset, but I don't know.
But it has to be a consideration, surely.
Yes. Yeah. Honestly, this is one I just don't know. All I'm saying, I guess I'm answering it. The last question, what do you think of this plan and what should we look out for? I think we're mainly saying these are the things to look out for.
And this is exactly why I went to Pidge and asked him because I said, John, is this house that was our first home, like we've got a lot of emotional attachment to this house.
Yeah.
But I'm a very pragmatic financial advisor. So at the end of the day, all the memories of my kids growing up in that house can go away if I'm going to make more money.
They can be bought. Those memories can be sold, rather.
Yeah, we've got video of those memories, so that's fine. The memories aren't held in the bricks, I guess. But I went to John and said, hey, John, is this a good, sound investment or not? Because if it's not, I'm happy to sell it. And this was before the negative gearing changes happened. But yeah, I think I agree with you that first and foremost, is it a good investment to keep that property?
Yeah.
If it's not, then sell.
Because so many of us will have this problem, right? And I've been talking about this over the last few months. I do want to buy a home one day to live in, right? As a family home. I know in the depths of my bones that I will have to sell some investment properties because there is that much equity in them and there's just no way I need a huge amount of non-deductible debt. Like it's just not happening. So I'm prepping now because it could take me 3-4 years to really prep that I need to sell my golden geese and reset everything in my life.
But and this is where I come back to, it comes across to me as an emotional decision and less about the actual dollars and cents of what is a financial decision for yourself. Because from an emotional point of view and a risk mitigation strategy is non-deductible debt needs to be as minimal. And so even if my net asset doesn't grow as much in 10 years' time, I'm more comfortable and I'm comfortable taking less risk by reducing that non-deductible debt.
Actually, you know what? And this is why I just really wanted to talk about this because it's like, so many good things in here. Because initially I saw 6 or 7 years time, right? And if you're investing for over 6-7 years, knock yourself out, go for it. Because we just don't want to invest in growth assets for under 6-7 years. However, you already got your 330K in ETFs. You've got the 170K offsetting the non-deductible debt. I think my Judge Judy final judgment is let's just keep cash heavy until the kids arrive, until we get settled, because in 5 years, you're really going to know, right? So it's as much as it is about 6 to 7, we invest for the long term. We really don't want cash hanging around without going to work for 5 or more years. You could say, well, it is working because it's offsetting and we're getting a guaranteed 6% return. So, yeah, I think I'm doing what you suggest because at least we've got a cash buffer and a cash reserve and cash for any parental or maternity or that leave.
And that's the other good call is, you may be planning 6 months off, but you may then want to keep that cash reserves. Yeah. Sold.
There you go. Now, there's a look in your eye that you give me. It's like, sucked in, Glenn. I was kind of right. Go on. Wasn't there? There
You saw
was.
it? Yeah.
I saw it. I know
and
you.
You know how humble I am? I didn't even remind you that you came around to my way of thinking. That's how humble a guy I am.
And you know how humble I am? I let you win that.
Congratulations. You're growing. I can see a lot of growth.
I really am. Okay, now I'm with Phil Thompson from Skye Wealth. We are talking about this question about super and also how maybe we look at comparing super funds. Phil, what does our lovely questioner ask?
So the question from Kinneret is, I'm very interested in hearing your opinion on Vanguard Super. I've been with Care Super since my first job, which was set up by my employer, and I've been window shopping for a better super option in terms of returns and fees. I'm not concerned about my insurance, which is set up with OnePath through Skye Wealth. Thank you very much.
Client of yours.
Yes, thank you. I also have a few thousand invested in Vanguard ETFs. I love the platform overall. Would love to hear your insights and knowledge about Vanguard Super. Thank you very much.
Okay, so Phil's going to probably just chill for 1 second because I've put together maybe 3 slides that I want to talk about with this particular question about Vanguard versus Care Super. Now, what I've just assumed is a balanced, quote unquote, investment option for both one because we don't know. And this exercise for Kinneret is more to help them understand what to look for when reviewing super funds. It's actually extremely difficult to review and compare super funds in Australia. And I'll show you why. So basically, we'll put up this first slide, and this is just the key things that I want people to understand when reviewing any type of super fund. The first column you'll say, and this might be hard if you're driving and not watching on YouTube, but I'll explain it. So the Vanguard Super Growth, which is the investment option, versus the Care Super Balanced. So a couple of things there. The first thing you need to look for with your super fund is not the brand itself. It's not how good the app is. It's not what the cheapest fee is. We need to get it to a baseline of, are we comparing apples with apples? So what I generally like to do first is look at the actual investment option asset allocation as my starting point. So if you have a look,
even though you've chosen balanced versus growth.
Exactly. So that's the ticker. So if we have a look here, it's Vanguard Super. The growth assets is 70% for the Vanguard Super Growth, and the Care Super Balanced option is 72%, right? So Vanguard call it growth at 70%, Care Super, and to be frank, most other high-profile funds in Australia, they call a balanced 70%.
Because there's nothing legislating that title, which is crazy.
It's so horrendous. It's like actually so horrendous.
Yeah.
I think balance would be balance 50-50, but what do I know? What do I know?
Exactly.
So we've got to look at the asset allocation. So instead of just going compare Vanguard Super Growth to Care Super Growth, the Care Super Growth is probably 90% growth. So we need to – so that's only the one – so then if we have a look down, both portfolio objectives are to pump 3% above inflation over 10 years. These 2 other metrics here about the minimum suggested hold period and the standard risk measure, which both are legislated that they have to disclose. The minimum suggested holding period for Vanguard is 7 years. Care Super Balanced is 5+ years. But this is the interesting part. The standard risk measure, which is a risk banding logic, Vanguard Super Growth says it's band 6 and high, where Care Super Balanced says 5, medium to high. Now, what that actually means is how many negative returns over a 20-year period. So the Vanguard Super Growth, 4 to fewer than 6 years in every 20 years, and the Care Super Balanced, is approximately 3.5 years in every 20. So we know, looking at just the standard risk measure, on paper, Care Super could be less risky. But the question is why? And we'll get to that. And this could be just a really good learning experience. But then we go to the total investment fee. Now, this is the investment fee of the actual investment option, not the entire fund. Vanguard Super Growth is 0.21%. Care Super Balanced, 0.59%. So that washes up with some admin fees, and they're on the screen, but there could be a percentage-based or a monthly member fee type deal. Based on $50,000, the total Vanguard Super Growth package is 0.54%, and the total Care Super Balanced package is approximately 0.94%. Now, that 4% difference, and I don't have a problem with a complete super package fee of around just under 1%, right? Like it's, and I'll explain why that it's higher than Vanguard as well. So fees matter, and we need to pay attention to them. But if there was $100,000 invested and it was $400 more with Care Super, that would mean over a 25-year period at investing $400 a year at 8% return, at 3% inflation, in today's dollars, it's $14,000 more over the scheme of 25 years, okay? So it adds up, like fees matter. But we need to work out, why is the Vanguard Super Growth so cheap and the Care Super so expensive? So the key learnings on this page when reviewing your super fund, forget what the label is. I want you to look at the asset allocation to growth and defensive asset. Growth assets, shares, property, might be private equity. And the problem is a lot of high-profile funds in Australia that you know and love, they may put a split of some of their defensive or their more growth assets. They may put a slight split of them in the background and label them defensive because they're unlisted. So speaking of that, what's so funny there, Philip?
This is one of the reasons I got out of super advice, is the shenanigans going on in superannuation. Drives me mental. A balanced fund being 70%, 72% growth. But I find it humorous how many kind of disclosures and some of their actual assets are called defensive, but they're more growth assets, and it feels a bit
it's okay. So with super in Australia, it's like it's the what's in America they call it, like the military complex or whatever. What is it called? Like, industrial
complex.
Yeah, the military industrial complex. In Australia, it's like the Australian superannuation complex machine. Like it's a wild time, I think.
It's a thing.
And I make money off them. They advertise on the show. I've taken money from Vanguard. I'll take money from anyone, provided it's somewhat.
And trustees have a legal obligation to do the best interest of their members.
Absolutely.
So I'm not saying they're doing anything dodgy. It just
so
there's a bit of double speak.
Okay, well, actually, let's just go to the slide, Sean, please, where it's got the target asset allocation at the top left, and it's got a big list. And so if we have a look at the underlying asset allocation, Australian shares with Vanguard Super, and because this is where you can start to work out what you'd be more interested in, 28% to Australian shares, Care Super Balance, 23%. So there's a higher skew to Australian shares with Vanguard Super. International shares, you'll see here, overall it's 42% with Vanguard, and they break it down to 12.6% hedged, 21.6% unhedged. They've got some emerging markets and small companies where, as far as I could see, the Care Super Balanced 27% of international shares. I couldn't find an exact disclosure. Now that
hasn't broken up in between those different types of hedge or unhedged or
emerging markets or international small. So it may be there. I just couldn't find it. which is, yeah. But then we have a look at Care Super has an allocation to private equity, to property, to infrastructure, to credit, to alternatives, to fixed interest. And you'll see this on the screen, everyone, where the fixed interest asset allocation for Vanguard is 30%, 21% global fixed interest hedged, and Australian fixed interest at 9%. There's a 0% target for cash, where Care Super have a target at 5% with cash. Now we'll go to the just the slide which has the unlisted assets, and this is available publicly. I put the website below there on the screen. If we have a look at Vanguard, there is 0% of their portfolio that is unlisted assets. Now, unlisted assets could be an airport, it could be a shopping centre, it could be a retail mall, it could be some infrastructure, an unlisted toll road, it could be unlisted, could be private equity. If you want to buy into Skye Wealth, like that's unlisted. Can I buy in yet? What? Okay, cool. But when we have a look at Care Super Balanced, there's basically between 12 and 24% of total unlisted exposure. It's not clear 100%, but we know approximately there is unlisted private equity of 5%, property 7%, which I think we said on the last slide, infrastructure at 12%. So the total private equity and property and infrastructure and unlisted exposure could be around 24%. Now, the reason super funds investment options vary. So if you had $500,000, right, and you just put it into CBA shares, right, or you had $500,000 and you put it into an investment property outright with just cash, you had an investment property manager, you might have some weeks without rent, there might be maintenance. Inherently speaking, real property, growth assets, infrastructure, these type of investments just cost more to manage, right? It's just as simple as that. So that's one of the reasons that a lot of super funds, particularly like the big ones in Australia, have a lot of unlisted assets because of that, the fee is often a bit high because it simply just costs more to manage unlisted assets. Likewise, with an equity portfolio, it costs more with an active manager than an index-hugging portfolio, right? So that's part of the reason that the fees are different. What I wanted to really talk about here, the Vanguard Super Growth option, it's very close, not identical, but very close to the VDGR ETF or the Vanguard Diversified Growth Indexed Managed Fund. And we know in that fund, they don't buy airports, they don't buy toll roads, they don't buy the shopping centre down the road. So it's a pure listed play. It's very clear of where they invest. It's very clear what the daily unit price would be, because how often do you value an airport? How often do you value a shopping centre? I don't have a problem with unlisted assets in funds, but you just need to be aware of the disclosure and be comfortable with how the trustee are valuing those funds. And you just got to be aware and understand that. So the question is, I've been with Care Super since my first job. I'm looking at Vanguard Super. The actual thing here, you cannot compare Vanguard Super to the Care Super default investment option because they're completely different, 100% different.
So what are your thoughts then?
My thoughts,
because they're different, but they're also they're a super fund where I'm putting my employer contribution into. So for everyday Australians, it's the same thing.
It
and
is.
we have the different options.
We do, but the data.
So what do you like? Do you like vanilla Vanguard, or do you like a little bit more sexier Care Super with unlisted stuff?
Well, I would want to step back, and disclosure, Vanguard have literally paid me to advertise, like, which is fine. And disclosure, I personally use the Vanguard ETFs, like in my investment bond. So disclose that. If Care Super wanted to advertise, I'd freaking take their money too. Don't worry about that. Like, because their products on balance, any advertising that I do, if it doesn't cause harm, and just because it might not be good for one person doesn't mean it's not good for any. So
Exactly.
So it's all, and super in Australia is highly regulated. I personally don't want to keep that air conditioner on. I personally don't want to hang my hat on any particular one in this instance. I just want to let people know when you're comparing funds, it needs to be apples for apples. So the question is, we look at the Vanguard fund. It's basically a 100% listed, light, fee, light, ad hoc. But do you want exposure to property? Do you want exposure to infrastructure? Do you want some sex and violence, unlisted, private equity in your super? Do you, Phil? I know you do.
Not sure how we got there, but sure.
Are you comfortable with the level of disclosure of either fund? And for example, it could be, well, my grandma worked at Care Super forever and the lunchroom's named after Nan and all that stuff. Okay, can you mimic the Vanguard or the option that you're comparing to Care Super? Can you build your own portfolio and mimic it so you can get a like-for-like fee difference? I will say I put a performance slide together, but I'm not putting it up for a couple of reasons. Number one, the Vanguard funds, in terms of super, have only been around a couple of years in Australia. So we can't get the true comparison. After I went to the freaking Vanguard website, jumped onto Facebook and the cookie got me. It's like, we've done 13% since inception. It's like, yeah, great. What's inception? And what does it matter if it's 2 years? What did you do over 10 years? So when you're reviewing your super funds, I need you to forget 1, 3, 5. I want you to look 7 to 10 years what it delivered. But we can get a glimpse, and this is where it gets really, really hard. On the super fund websites, the total return that's listed of that investment option is after fees and tax of that investment option. It's not after the $6.50 a month membership fee, but just the investment options, they're listed after fees and after tax. So if Care Super was 10% and it was 1% fee, the return before tax might be 11 point something to allow for the 15% tax inside super. This is where it gets really difficult. In super, we know that we've got the discount for capital gains tax. We know we've got a 15% tax rate. We've got lumpy assets that might get sold that might be taxed at CGT rates in super. Could be income that's taxed at 15%. The reason it's so hard to compare Vanguard at the moment with super is you can actually look at the VDGR managed fund because it's similar. Like I think the super version doesn't have drugs, weapons. It's just a little bit different. It's on the Vanguard website. You can have a look, everyone. You could get a good vibe of what the Vanguard Diversified Growth Fund did over the last 10 years and compare it to the Care Super over the last 10 years. But the problem is, in investment land, the returns of an investment that are published are are after fees and before tax. So if the Vanguard investment in your own name said 11% and it was a 1% fee, the net return is 10. But then you've got to take your own tax at the marginal tax rate. And that's why in the super funds, because the tax rate's the same for all members in the accumulation pool, they just give the return after fees and taxes. So what you could do, potentially, is a bit of bush maths. You could look at the Vanguard Diversified Growth Managed Fund because that's been around for a long time. You could look at the 7-year fee, but then you've got to work out, how can I take off the tax from this to get a like for like? You might go, maybe it's around 1%. I don't know. So it is really hard to compare super funds in Australia.
Yeah. Given that we've got one of the biggest pension systems in the world,
top three
it
or
is
top
very
four, yeah.
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me give you my three takeaways from this. Number one is don't just look at the name of the fund that you're in, the balanced versus the growth, because you touched on that at the top. That's super important.
Yeah.
Second thing, you compared the fee difference of $400 a year for 25 years. It was $14,000. Fees do matter, but over that period of time, sometimes just keeping things simple is not as important as asset allocation. That's actually much more important. And the third thing, and actually the most important point that you didn't touch on, but let me just bring it back to the question is setting up insurance.
Everyone. All right. You're a guest here.
Setting up insurance through Skye Wealth means that you can not have your insurance locked to your super fund, so you can just geek out on which super fund you want to go to, and you got the freedom to move. That is the number one most important thing. Your super fund can still pay your insurance policies, but you got freedom to move. You knew that was coming.
So what? Well, actually, I will swing back around to the default insurance, but I want to know. I'm just looking at my things here. I want you to know out there in listener land, what is important to you with your investments. And I want absolute cheapest fee. Okay. If you go down that road, you will likely get an after tax and after fees, a worse performance when it's all washed up. Because you're also, if you go down that road as well, you're going to be missing potential good diversification bits from your portfolio. I think, and we'll put this back up, Sean, that first one with the risk bands. I think potentially the reason why the Vanguard 70/30 is quote unquote higher risk than the Care Super Balanced, and I teased this out before, is because it's a 100% listed fund. Like all the growth assets all listed. So there will be a bit more volatility because we're getting daily prices, right? Which could be perceived as higher risk. Where if we've got 24% of this option over here, literally unlisted lumpy assets. And also the question actually is this, right? Care Super. What portion of your unlisted assets, for example, infrastructure at 12%, or property at 7%, what breakdown of that have you put into growth or defensive in the background? So it's really
if you
hard.
talk about unlisted, you talked about volatility. Like Skye Wealth as a business has never gone down in valuation in its inception because it's unlisted.
Yeah.
We haven't sold or bought any of it. So, that's where you talk about unlisted assets has less volatility because it's just like property. Theoretically, we know what's going on, but unless you're buying or selling some of it, you're not necessarily realizing that value at that period of time. So it can be
we dare not ask about valuation dates around reporting season.
Yeah, right. Just before the end of financial year. No, we won't talk about that at all.
We won't. So anyway, look, I just want to move on. And this, like, I don't know. I'm just calling it how it is. I don't care what one you use. I really don't. But I want you to learn of how the portfolios are made up. I want you to learn that the asset allocation matters, not the underlying asset allocation within the breakdown of different asset classes matters probably more, if not equal, to the headline growth versus defensive. And I want you to understand. I mean, I'm not, having a big cry over 0.94, but I do know that all these top 20 funds and all that are member first and non-for-profit, there is a lot of for-profit funds after fees and investment fees and the whole bunch is actually quite less than these for-profit funds.
Yeah. I'm personally a simple guy. I like keeping life simple.
I know that. So I don't know. I just learn, see what's under the hood. You've got to manually compare this stuff and make an informed decision. And if not, go to a financial advisor. Tell them what's important to you. And I dare say being in an IDPS out of a pooled fund will probably be better for you in terms of tax long term. All right, let's get on with it. But anyway, let us know below. Are you choosing Vanguard? In the YouTube comments, let me know, are you choosing in this exact instance? We don't know what their investment options were or whatever. I just plucked a 70-30 from each fund. Which one are you choosing and why? And whatever you choose, remember, go to Skye Wealth and they'll be able to have insurance paid from either of them.
If you're after personal financial advice, don't get it from a podcast. But if you want guidance tailored to your situation, head to moneypodcast.com.au and click Get Help. We'll connect you with one of our trusted professionals, financial advisors and mortgage brokers, who work with people right across Australia. No matter where you are, they can help. Now, before we get back to the show, a quick reminder to protect your financial life. That means having income protection sorted. It means having death cover if there's any debt or dependents relying on you. It means getting your personal insurance in order. Most people insure their car, they insure their house, but what about themselves? Skye Wealth, who support this podcast, are specialist financial advisors who can help you get the right cover in place. Their advice is often more comprehensive and better value than going direct through your super. Book a complimentary 15-minute chat at skye.com.au. That's skye.com.au, and they'll point you in the right direction.
We asked everyone in our Facebook group, hey, if you want to join the Facebook group, just put I heard Glen and Phil on episode 931, then we'll know that you're not spam. We asked everyone, what was the first big thing you bought with your own money? I'll read a couple, Phil will read a couple, and we'll have a bit of fun. Rochelle, an iPod and a double bed. Michelle, Louis Vuitton Never Fail tote. When I got my first full-time job after graduating university, it was $820 lol. Seems like a bargain now as it costs $3,200. Well, inflation, am I right? Someone said a road bike, clothes for works, ironing board, and a nice doona. I was 16. Sounds like a very organised person, that one.
I know. A 16-year-old buying an ironing board. Sounds like my middle daughter. She's very type A.
Do you want to have a stab at some?
So we got Ashley. Very first paycheck, I bought an over-the-shoulder bag I still use 20 years later. My first expensive purchase was a new mattress. 20 years of bag usage.
Okay,
Great bargain.
Ashley's pretty frugal, I would say.
Yeah, and then we got
or doesn't use the bag much. The bag's like,
no, it's good. It's a good bag.
I've got a good Toomey backpack. I reckon that because that's like full on leather. I reckon it'll last 20 years easy.
I'm using a backpack I bought 20 years ago still.
Really?
And it was an add-on to like a Kathmandu like big travel pack, but this is the day pack version. So I'm the same.
Yeah.
But I'm also
frugal. You're a tight ass. Yeah. No, you're a tight ass. Phil, everyone is borderline cheap. There, I said it.
Miriam, good quality wool coat. Living in Europe at the time, a great investment, and I still use it. Carolina, a digital camera when I was 17 years old. Okay, Lorene, I was 15 and I got a custom surfboard. Nice. And Anonymous was a personal development course. And then we've got an expensive dinner at a fine dining in South Australia. And Invisalign from Nat.
Norma said an amplifier. Kelsey said a horse. Lisa, Italian leather boots. Sally, Valentino shoes for someone. Annika, a flight to Australia from Sweden. T said the Silverchair Frog Stomp album. Tim Kelly, freestyle BMX with trick pegs. Love that, Tim. Rachel
We got
Creel.
Rach.
Mortgage broker hour.
Yeah. Rach is a discman that skipped whenever you walked. It was 5 weekends of work.
Wait, Rach. I had the orange Sony anti-shock. What are we doing here?
Yeah. I was also going to say, do you date yourself when you talk about your first? Because discman, young kids probably wouldn't know what that is.
Oh, no.
Shout out to Rach. I hope I don't get in too much trouble with that comment.
You will. Let's just look at some last ones on the last page. My first ever paycheck, I bought an electric blanket.
I bought my first iPhone. It was an iPhone 3GS.
Okay. Jess said, a trip to Canada at 17 to visit my childhood sweetheart and be his date to his high school graduation. So they must have lived in Australia, had a high school sweetheart, and moved up there?
As a father of teenage daughters, that freaks me out hearing that.
How old's your oldest now?
She's 15. Imagine in 2 years'
basically
time
going
she
to
went to
Canada.
Canada. That would be crazy. I can't imagine how I would let her do that. And we've got an electric guitar.
What do you reckon I was thinking about this. I'm like, I don't know what mine would have been, but it would have been either, I'm just thinking when I was 13, 14, first job, I loved having fish tanks and aquariums. It would have been fishy accessories. Or I used to be a total nerd out computer. It would have been like RAM or a hard drive or something. Or a CPU.
I think mine could have been a computer as well,
Yeah.
or a phone. I got hand-me-downs I was the youngest of 5, so I got a lot of phone hand-me-downs. But I think it might have been a computer. Yeah, bit of a nerd as well.
Well, there you have it. Everyone, thank you for your participation in Face Vegas. All right, Phil. Sylvia, I'm a new listener and loving the podcast. Thank you. I just downloaded your spending plan and started using it. I'd love your thoughts on my setup. I've always used a credit card, but I paid off in full every month before the due date. There's no annual fee, and I earn big rewards. There's no annual fee, and I earn big rewards I redeem as gift cards, so it's worked well. Just underline that. I'll come back to that. I see this little tripwire. I'm like, I'm going to have a pick at that one line. The only downside is the balance can look like a big bill. I thought I've always got enough in emergency savings to cover it. Although I've always got enough in emergency fund savings to cover it, we're using emergency savings to cover daily expenses, are we? Okay, let's keep going. Since using the spending plan.
We've only just downloaded the spending plan.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Give a bit of grace
I
here.
know. I love you, Sylvia.
Yeah.
I love you. Do you want to read the rest of it so I'm not distracted?
Since starting the spending plan, I've made one change. My weekly spending now comes straight from my savings account instead of the card. I'm still planning to use a credit card for big bills, also for bills and bigger purchases. I'm also thinking of using PayPal Pay in 4 and Afterpay for bills and big purchases, so not weekly spending account, just to spread the cost and smooth out the cash flow. Do you think these habits are worth changing, even though I'm not paying interest or carrying the debt, or are they fine as long as I stay disciplined and pay on time?
What do you think?
Are we playing good cop, bad cop? Because I know you're going to be the bad cop. So do you want me to be a good cop?
I'll be the bad. I'll be strategically the bad cop.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I did, because this is how I used to run my finances. We used to do this, pay everything through the credit cards, but then we completely changed it around. So now what we do is we pay everything out of savings. Yes, theoretically, you can be better off. You can get these gift cards, you can get points and this, but just the mentality of, it's the number's going up, and that number is kind of almost uncapped depending on your credit card limit or from a household budget. That's okay. We've flipped it around and put money into a separate account, and we cap our weekly spending. So every month we put money into a bank account. And so towards the end of the month, if we've spent bigger, we naturally just stop spending money. And it's changed our mindset, and it's saved us a heap of money. And me and Kate, we're not like, I know you call me a tight ass, but we're not like crazy frugal. We're like, we live well. We have a reasonable household budget.
I mean, I'm
but
still
just
waiting
flipping
for
it around.
I'm still waiting for you to return the favour and shout me to the Australian Open tennis one year. But anyway,
I mean, it was a 45-minute match that cost you $2,000. Let's be honest, it wasn't great use of your money, but
I enjoyed your company nevertheless.
Yeah, it was good. So for me, flipping it around and having the balance go down and have it end is much better. And we've saved so much money on an annualized basis because I track our spending at the end of the year. I just put it all into an Excel spreadsheet and work out what is our spending outside of mortgages and outside of the big purchases.
Yeah, I think so. And this is the thing. So the Glen James spending plan system, it's pretty strong public policy type vibe. Like if you just did the Glen James spending plan, how it is designed in the box, you'll get some really good success because it will help change your habits and behaviors. It'll stop you from living week to week. It will help you quarantine your money a little bit and have a type of system. It's not a zero-based budget because I don't do them myself because I'm not an engineer. I just need money flows and moves. And every single week, it's not going to be the same because you might not get the extra coffee this week. Next week, you might get an extra thing at lunch. So I've got a vibe where your budget is a moving organism like that. We've all seen the jellyfish do that. It's just breathing, right? Just breathing, Phil. Everyone close your eyes. I'm moving my hands like I'm
If you're
breathing.
not watching this on YouTube, you got to get on YouTube just to see Glen be a jellyfish.
So all that to say, what I'm 100%. Oh, so the cash hub where all our income goes into, because there's I'm thinking about using PayPal paying for and afterpay for bills. No, we're not doing that. We're literally
You're just
not
lose track. You just start to lose track
because
of
it's
what's
the same
actually
problem.
your money.
But this is the logic. It's the same problem of you just said I don't want to use a credit card because of the psychology and I can't and I owe money. How is that any different with paying for? We're not doing that. Also do whatever you want. So because they said spread the cost and smooth out our cash flow, if you actually do the Glen James spending plan as it's described on the tin, the cash flow won't be a problem. Now, you might have to seed the cash hub. If you've got some savings, you might have to seed it with $3,000-4,000 and get off the ground into flight. But I just want to say a couple of things as well. What you'll need to do if you do, so you really can't half do my Glen James spending plan because they've said I've always had enough in emergency savings to cover the credit card each month. It's no, we're setting our emergency fund. That's in the corner. That's good night nurse. That's put to bed. Then we've got a cash hub and some other savings accounts. What I would recommend in this instance, I personally do not use a credit card like Philip for day-to-day expenses. I transfer $500 a week over to the app thing on my phone, which is a different account with Upbank, I think it is, yes. My cash hub, other savings, that's with Bankwest. I just do every Wednesday. Actually, today's payday, Phil. Every Wednesday, $500 lands on my phone.
What's the balance today?
Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying. You know how things move and breathe?
Yeah, the jellyfish. I got you.
Yeah, the jellyfish. Last Wednesday, before pay, it was $7. But the system's working. But this week, there's actually $130 in there right now.
Yeah.
So
Great.
I'm still getting money coming in. Now, the thing is, if every single week on a Wednesday afternoon, there was $100 in there, every single week for 4 or 5 weeks running, it's too much. I need to literally transfer 100 less. But every week, if there's $20 left, probably okay. Every week, if I'm running out of money and you've got to grab money from somewhere else to top up your daily, you just need to increase that. You need to do the Glen James spending plan, what the reality is today to start with, not what you think it is in your mind. Oh no, I only spend $400 a week on this. No, you don't. You spend $500. oh, the Glen James spending plan doesn't work. No, because you're putting your mitts in the cash hub, which money's spoken for, to fund other shat. So,
or calling an emergency fund the ability just to use to pay off a credit card.
yeah. And I know I'm being dramatic and fun because I'm creating a hopefully entertaining podcast. But so what I would say, I don't use credit card for day-to-day expenses. If someone did want to use a credit card for the Glen James spending plan, I don't think you would use it for your day-to-day expenses. You may still have it and you put all your bills on it, or your fixed monthly bills and all your annual lumpy bills. Or when I had to get new tyres the other day, if you want to go get it because you factored in the cost of car services and tyres, that odd day you might take that credit card out with you and pay for it. And then the money will just come from the cash hub because it's already spoken for. You might do that. And then you can scoop your little points or whatever.
The difficulty with credit cards is you don't actually know what your cash position is.
That's right.
The reason why I love cash and I'm very disciplined into business as well is I always want to know what is my money. And if I have a credit card that's sitting off to the side that has a balance, and then I've got, maybe $3,000 in this account, but then $4,500 on the credit card, well, you actually need negative balance. So you've always got to do that mental math all the time, every day when you've got separate accounts. But just paying things with cash, you're at $130 today.
Yeah.
It'll go up to $630 tomorrow, and your spending this week is capped at $630.
And what I would suggest is like people who watch this on YouTube, and I value and welcome all comments because it's fun. People are going to fly in and write, no, just use credit card for every expense and get the points. How about not everyone's like you? Like, what about the comment is you actually need to move into the direction that you feel is right for you and you're comfortable, and you don't feel like you're living week to week. You don't feel like the cash flow is a problem. You feel like you are making financial progress. Albeit I don't get a $200 JB High voucher every year from the points, because you're going to have more money and more peace than having a sloppy system to get the extra Dyson vacuum every 2 years. This is just do turn off the noise. You're not going to get rich off the back of credit card points.
And to be very candid, you and me, we're both financially comfortable to use credit cards, and we're both disciplined enough to use credit cards, but we choose not to.
I use it in my business.
Yeah, and so do I. But so what I'm saying is,
that's not for day-to-day business expenses.
We're financially stable enough to go and be stupid with money sometimes. We're financially stable enough to use the credit card, but we choose not to. So again, it is something where it's a matter of going, maybe you can because you're disciplined, you're amazing, but maybe you shouldn't still.
So if we play this out, how do I word this? If I used, we'll call it $1,000 a week, worst case scenario of everyday expenses on the credit card, and it was matched point for point with Qantas, that's 50,000 points, right? And throughout that 12 months, that 50,000 points was actually, I'll give you a real, I won't because it's not on that computer. And you had some bonus points, or there was a thing, and at the end of the 12 months, you had enough Qantas points to accrue it and pay for something. But throughout that year of accumulating those points, it was sloppy, you felt out of control, all this stuff. The question is, I literally just on the week, I personally, my own hierarchy, and this is my own experience, individual results may vary, follow instructions and go back to your doctor if symptoms persist. My own experience is with Qantas points or any points, the best use of them is either upgrades or seats, like actual reward seats. Then I found literally flights internationally with Qantas points, and they just go so far. Weird algorithm thing, I don't know. But that's kind of in that first category. The next one, I found that hire cars through the Qantas website using points can be really good value. And then the next I found sometimes using hotel bookings. So all that to say, last weekend I booked because I've got it was close to 1 million points accruing, right? And I'm like, I've got to go somewhere for, book a hotel. Wasn't for work. I'm like, I don't want to pay $600. And it was like 60,000 Qantas points for 3 nights. It was so cheap. So the question is, if that was $650 for the hotel or whatever it was for 3 nights, the actual extra benefit that I've got for having my life in chaos and feeling I'm not making progress without systems using credit cards, is that worth having $600 less at the end of the day? I reckon it probably is, because there's a risk with the credit card. You're inadvertently potentially spending more, getting a bit like gamification. I'll just buy this to get the points.
Yep.
It all equals out, baby.
I agree.
But also, Sylvia, thank you so much for your question, and do what feels right for you. All right, longer episode today. Am I right, everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, gal. Yeah. All right, Phil. This is for you. Did this for you, mate. 100% for you.
Hey, I'm glad I put in the anonymous question in the Facebook group the week before we.
No, so someone in the group looking for advice re personal insurance. I've had one financial advisor never get back to me, and I have found another one now. Cool story. I care less about life now.
No, I think the thing that people like about you, Glenn, is you say the things that others think that aren't willing to say. Because I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, does that add to the question? I'm not sure.
It might do, and this is why. Okay. This is why when you Google Glen James and look on Reddit, it's the common thing. He's an arrogant asshole. Yeah. This is why. As we're seeing this in real time. This is why I am an arrogant, better than you arsehole. This is happening right now. I don't know whether to go through an advisor or just go to Skye Wealth. I had a heart condition, so not even sure I'll get insurance. And I don't want to pay an advisor if I can just go to Skye Wealth. Any thoughts on if anyone has been through a similar thing? I own 3 properties and a business, so I need to be covered if I can. You just talk, I need to go and get lunch. So
let me
have a crocodile answer.
What's for lunch?
Make it snappy.
What's for lunch? GYG? That's what I had on my way.
No,
in from the
I order Activate Foods. It's a thing on the Central Coast, fresh meals everywhere. I'm actually getting a bit sick of them, actually, just because of variety.
Shout out to Activate Foods.
No, they're awesome. They're delicious and yum, but it's just like, give me some more variety.
All right, let me quickly answer this. So, Skye Wealth, we are financial advisors. So, even if we just specialize,
sexy to me.
Even if we just specialize in insurance, we still give advice. You still get the same consumer protections. We still need to go through the same robust due diligence any financial advisor does. What I'm going to assume is they are going to like a holistic advisor. And actually, a good friend of mine, Catherine Hayes, made a comment on this post as well, explaining exactly that. We are financial advisors at Skye Wealth.
I think you need to say a good friend of the show, because I know Catherine as well.
Okay, good friend of the show.
Don't leave me out of your
okay. No, we're buddy. We talk more than you talk. So,
I'm sure you do.
Yeah. And so
actually, everyone, stuff Phil. Go to Catherine Hayes for the insurance. She's an insurance advisor. She's awesome. She's a great one. I'm scared of her. She's awesome.
I'm not. She's a delight. Yeah. Anyway, and so if you've got an advisor and you're happy with them, but they're charging you $5,000 to do holistic advice, but that's not what you want, then come to Skye Wealth. But if they're an advisor, they're good at what they do, and you're happy with their fees and you're happy with their service offering, just stay with them. Now, what we do at Skye, we ask 1 million questions about that heart condition. I don't know if I've told you this, Glenn. In our form, it's smart. So if you tick yes to something, you get asked maybe 4 more questions. There's over 500 questions we could potentially ask someone. If everyone has every condition under the sun, they have to answer 500 questions.
Jeez.
And the reason we did that is because, well, what is your heart condition? Like, we need to delve into that before I'm going to recommend any insurance provider. I want to know if they're going to insure you, under what terms. And so, yeah, that's what we do. If you do have any health concerns or considerations, definitely go to an advisor. And Catherine does this in her business. Shout out to Catherine, or Skye Wealth, who asks the medical questions first and foremost. That when it comes to personal insurance, that is the number one thing that you want to consider. And then price is second. And so similar to the super comparison we did, asset allocation matters. All of those things matters, and fees is one of the considerations. So yeah, anything I left out there?
Well, let me now fix your answer.
Yeah, like you tried to do in the first question. Yeah, sure.
No, I just think in some instances, if someone has, and I mean this sincerely, like if someone has a medical issue, I know whether they went to Skye Wealth or even Catherine Hayes, right? I'll be charging you, Catherine, for this shout out.
You better believe you're getting a bill.
Like if you went to a specialist financial advisor who just does insurance with a medical condition, I dare say if you can't get cover through them, you're probably not getting it anywhere in Australia. Like would just be no niggling doubts. Because one thing Phil and I were having, and Phil, keep this very high level, please, sir.
Yes.
One thing.
I understand.
Wink. I sent Phil a screinshot the other day of one of his advice documents that someone had sent me to run their eyes over. And he was like, where'd you get this? What are you doing for? Was this for a what will Glen? I'm like,
okay, let's settle down. The tone in messages are a little bit different. My message was, oh yeah, who sent you this? Oh, who's this from? So not the panic.
No, it was.
You're articulating.
I'm making drama here, bro. What are you doing?
Sorry, no, good. Yeah, I was freaked out.
Yeah, and so I actually hadn't had a look at one of your advice documents for a long time. And did you realize I didn't get into Glen fix-it mode at all? I didn't tell you how crap it was.
You got into a little bit of Glen give advice.
I did. Absolutely.
But no, I was shocked you didn't tell me what we were doing wrong in our business.
I know.
That's the thing I appreciate the most and least about you, Glen, is you give me unsolicited advice all the time.
Yeah. And so, but all that to say, the level of detail in that advice document was wild. It literally listed, because this individual, there was some abnormal terms or just there was medical stuff. Like everyone's got medical stuff, right?
Which is literally everyone we work with. Everyone's got a medical something.
And at the back of it, it was literally the pre-assessment result from like all the insurers and what terms they would offer and why. So then it's almost like this super question that you alluded to. Well, it's not, what's the cheapest fee with a super fund? It's like, well, hang on, we could get to this cheapest insurance policy here, but you're going to get a left ventricle exclusion, just made that up, everyone, where you could pay a little bit more and get the actual cover for that condition.
Mm.
So very comprehensive. And I did make a suggestion.
Yeah. Not to me, though. You didn't make a suggestion to me. Yeah.
And I think the person, I said to them, I'm like, look, I would ask this just for curiosity, but the advice is good. Probably just do what they say. And I think they're going to do as one of your advisors said.
Fantastic. Love it. That is the biggest endorsement I've ever heard from you, Glen, is not to give me feedback on what we did wrong, because we can do things 99.9% perfect.
I'll find that 0.1.
You will find that and let me know, which I love, as I said. Yeah.
All right, friends. Oh, there was just one other thing. Someone in the Chrysal group actually, because I wrote to that, it was like, I'll ask Phil when we record this. They said, Glen, I have a question. Can life insurance and TPD held within super still be valid if you move overseas for a short stint, or is it void? Oh, That's a big question because it's like there's within super and then there's like within super, like group versus retail in super. So
Yeah.
it's all good generally, yeah?
Generally all good. Just grab your PDS and chuck it into ChatGPT or Claude or any of these AI agents and ask them. That's probably one of the easier ways. If I claim while I'm overseas, will this pay out? Because the PDSs are like 130 pages long if you've got a retail contract. If you're with a group fund, it may be a little bit less. But basically it should pay out. But there are hundreds of different contracts for super fund insurances. So.
The tripwire there for me, Philip, is if it's a default group TPD cover within the super fund, is there a tripwire to say if you haven't worked for 12 months, we're not going to cover you for any – like that's just the little 1%er that I trip over potentially. Because if it was
the definitions of that contract may say that we won't pay out based on any occupation TPD. Can you do any job? They may say you need to be,
but that wouldn't be
require assistance for activities of daily living. Yeah. So you need help feeding yourself, bathing yourself, and so there are some catches in there, but
ordinarily, like if you set up, I think someone said before, like a one-path policy or a sender or whatever, you're pretty lock solid once it's on risk. It's good to go.
Exactly.
Even though it's paid for your super. Yeah.
Yeah. And you could even, depending on what you're doing overseas, if it's a holiday, you can set up your policies with an advisor and it's all good as long as you're not going to like a DFAT 3 country.
Yeah. Like if you're going to, anyway, we won't mention any worldwide events or locations because I don't want to get flagged on YouTube.
If you're going to Singapore,
it's fine.
For a holiday, you'll be fine.
Okay. If you head a bit west, might be a bit dangerous this time of year. All right, my friends. You've been real, Phil. So real.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, the pleasure is all yours.
Hey, quick question. Are you? I don't actually listen to your podcast very much.
Neither.
Because I hear from you a lot. Are you much looser when I'm on the podcast or are you always this loose?
I think I'm getting a little bit more looser because I've decided. So we're doing these like Monday Night Money things, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a live show on Monday night on YouTube. And I just decided I want to just have more fun doing crap. And that could be a bit more loosey-goosey.
I like it. I get to. I guess this is the reason I don't listen that much because I hear the Glen, the podcast Glen, but when we hang out, I hear the looser Glen.
I might be at looser IRL sometimes.
Yeah, I prefer it.
All right, everyone, thank you for watching today. We will we'll see you soon. See you, Phil. Bye.
Thanks, mate.
Any advice is general financial advice only, which does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Because of that, you should consider if the advice is appropriate to you and your needs before acting on the information. If you do choose to buy a financial product, read the product disclosure statement, PDS, and target market determination, TMD, and obtain appropriate financial advice tailored to your needs. Simo Interactive Pty Ltd, the publisher of this podcast, and Glen James are authorised representatives of Money Sherpa Pty Ltd, which holds financial services license 451289. Opinions or comments from any guests on the podcast are theirs and not those of the host or the publisher or their respective license holders.